In this video, I'm going to explain what is drop servicing. Now, you may be familiar with the term drop shipping, and if you aren't, I'm going to quickly bring you up to speed here and potentially save you $2,997 on taking a drop shipping course. Drop shipping is basically setting up a Shopify store and handling the sales and marketing for companies that don't know how to sell their products online. It might have just saved you $3,000, but yeah, I'm sure that there are some value adds in those courses. I imagine that they go into some more detail. I'll go ahead and preface this with that I'm not a guru. I don't have any course to sell you. Here at VidPros, we do white label video editing, which is basically drop servicing for video editing. You don't have to use our company, and you don't even have to use video editing as your drop service. So drop servicing is very similar to drop shipping, but for digital services. You're handling the sales and marketing of a service under your brand, and someone else is fulfilling on the delivery. So what are some good digital services for drop servicing? Basically anything that has a defined scope that doesn't lead to endless revisions and endless back and forth between the client should be pretty good services for drop servicing. To give you some ideas to brainstorm, you can jump onto Fiverr and see some of their categories here. They've got numerous subcategories for graphic design, digital marketing, writing and translation, and video and animation, among others. Now, one point I want to make is if you're starting from scratch, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This particular business method isn't really recommended for starting from scratch, and I'll explain why. Because you're solving two sides of the equation here. You've got one, set up the drop servicers, the actual people that fulfill on the orders, and then two, you have to find clients. Obviously, like finding somebody to actually do work, that's kind of like the easy part, but finding clients is the harder part. So I would recommend, if you're just starting off, that you really focus on the first part of that, and you should either be good at like one of three skill sets. You should either have like a skill that's in demand and customers find you, or you could be good at sales so you can sell other people's products. The third item that might be a good in route into building that audience before you even have any product to sell would be content. So if you have content around a specific niche that you can consequently sell services to, that would be a good way of building up that customer base before you have anything to sell per se. So everyone that's still here should have either customers, an audience, or a relevant skill. And this is where drop servicing is going to be the biggest unlock that you'll have in your business right now. Here's a couple of examples. You have a web design firm that doesn't do SEO. Obviously, their customers need SEO. There's no point in creating a website that doesn't get found on the internet. Adding in the service of SEO is like the biggest value unlock for them. Another example would be all of the millions of course creators out there and coaches. These people, they don't want to do the service. They don't want to get involved. They want to basically just teach you how to do something. But all of those people that take the course or coaching, they're learning about the process, and they may not want to do it themselves. So this is where having a relevant service to provide would be a great complementary product to your existing digital course product. So once you've identified some additional services that would be relevant to your audience, the question is then like, how do you fulfill it? So if you were to do this in-house, you're going to need to hire employees, you're going to need to train employees, you're going to need to manage employees and create the systems and processes to handle it. If this is a new service offering for you, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve in all three of those items. It's going to be costly. It's not going to be as efficient as dropping in a plug and play service provider. So yeah, I mean, like obviously you can do things in-house, but you have to realize that like, hey, it's probably going to be something where you lose money initially, but have the potential to make more money long-term. And that just has to be something that you weigh the pros and cons for. And then as we look into the outsourced options, Fiverr and Upwork are an option for outsourcing, but it's not one that I recommend. And the reason why is that there's just a lot of consistency issues over the number of different freelancers, and like everybody's kind of like doing their own thing basically. So when you have a service, then seeking the provider, you need to solve three items. It's what is the price, what is the availability of the person, and what is the quality that they deliver upon. So to me, this is simply too many unknowns to first sell the service and then try to figure out all of these different variables. What I would recommend is that you start with the service first and you look for a productized service. This is basically like a service, but with a scope that clearly defines price, the quality, and the timing. And once you find these productized services, an example would be like Design Pickle for graphic design, Word Agents for content marketing, or VidPros for video editing. These are all great examples of productized services. So one of the benefits of a productized service is that clearly define the deliverables so you don't have to spend time being middleman between the customer and the service provider negotiating on deliverables. They tend to be existing companies with a proven track record of delivering on a defined set of characteristics and scope. So check the link in the description for a list of productized services that may be great complementary products to sell in your business. And the next thing to talk about is markup. The average industry markup is around 35%, but you can charge more for your specific niche. And this is going to be another key point. I just want to briefly talk about affiliate model versus drop shipping. So the affiliate, like everything is defined as far as like how much money the affiliate is going to make and how much money the actual provider of the service is going to make. And in general, this leaves a lot of value on the table. So let me give you this scenario. So you're in a specific niche where they're not very price conscious because they're going to make a lot of money. So you have $1,000 service that you provide them, and this $1,000 service makes them $1 million. So with drop servicing, you can kind of build that into your pricing and say, well, instead of only charging you $1,000 for this service that's going to make you $1 million, maybe it costs $20,000 if it gets them that much additional value. So this is what I'd say is that with drop servicing, you can charge what the market will bear and not leave the additional value on the table. This is in direct contrast with affiliate, where basically everybody gets charged the same price and gets paid the same affiliate fees at the end of the day. But one of the key points here is that it needs to be white label, because obviously your end client isn't going to be happy if they find that they've paid a multiple or a percentage amount more of what the product actually cost. Even if it does unlock a lot of additional value on their side, they'll still kind of push back on the fact that they paid more than if they had just thought of the idea themselves, basically. So you can act as middleman just by kind of copying and pasting the intake form for the service provider and the answers from the client and vice versa to connect the two. But this is going to lead us to my last value bomb, which there is software that will automate the communication between your end client and the service provider without actually having to act as the middleman. So we use Service Provider Pro for this, which is the only software I know of that does this. Whenever you sell a new service as a reseller, the customer pays you a fixed amount, let's say $800, and then you pay the service provider $600. This leaves you with a profit of $200 per month, and the service provider is able to communicate directly with the customer without revealing that they are the service provider and what their pricing is that they charge to you. So this back and forth between the customer and the service provider can all happen without your involvement. And basically you can focus on building the customer relationship and potentially offering them additional services that meet their needs. Lastly, another quick point on when you're choosing a service provider. It depends on the type of service, the different pricing models. We offer a subscription at VidPros, so it's a monthly recurring revenue that you get. Subscription services work great for things like content and video editing because it's an investment in your content and something that you shouldn't just do for a month and then forget. But then there's other services like logo design, which like you might only need once. And I'm not saying that like, hey, that's not a service that is worth providing to people, but it does limit the amount of ongoing value that you can provide for that customer. So it's just something to consider when you're positioning your different reseller products. Is this something that's going to be like a one-time sale, or is it going to be a subscription sale that kind of continue getting value off of? So sell subscriptions. It allows you to get longer and more predictable lifetime value per customer. As you can see, there's a lot of potential for both resellers and service providers. And there may even be overlap where you're cross-selling each other's services. And that's great. It's a great opportunity to reach out to other companies, develop partnerships that are win-wins for everybody, basically. So what are your thoughts on drop servicing in this business model? Leave those in the comment section below. Subscribe to check out my other videos on running a white label video editing agency and tips on video marketing. Thanks for watching.